Hello, and welcome back to the Everyday English Podcast. I'm Jane.
And I'm John. We're so happy you could join us again. In our first episode, we promised our next topic would be a tasty one, and we're definitely keeping that promise.
That's right. Today we are talking all about food. It's a universal language, but talking about it in English can sometimes feel tricky. We'll cover everything from describing flavors and textures to ordering confidently at a restaurant.
And, as promised, we'll even teach you a very useful, very English way to describe food you don't like without being rude. So, grab a snack and let's get started.
All right, John, let's start with the basics. Imagine you've just taken a bite of a delicious lemon cake. How would you describe it?
Ooh, a great choice. First, I'd say it's very sweet because of the sugar, but it would also be a little sour or even tangy because of the lemon. Those are two of the most common flavors.
Exactly. The main flavors are sweet, sour, salty, and bitter. A coffee with no sugar would be bitter, and potato chips are usually very salty. And you mentioned tangy, which is a lovely word for a sharp but pleasant taste, like you get from citrus or good yogurt.
Right, and we can't forget spicy or hot for food with chili in it. And then there's savory or umami. This is that delicious, rich flavor you find in things like mushrooms, aged cheese, or soy sauce. It's a deep, satisfying taste. If food lacks flavor, you might call it bland.
Let's have our listeners practice those.
Sweet, sour, salty, bitter, spicy, savory.
Fantastic. Now, what about how the food feels in your mouth? This is called texture. For example, ice cream is smooth and creamy.
And a fresh apple is crisp and crunchy. If you cook a steak perfectly, it will be soft and tender. But if you overcook it, it might be chewy and tough.
Those are perfect examples. You can also have a pie crust that is light and flaky, or a cake that is perfectly moist. The opposite of that would be dry.
And something fried, like French fries, might be crispy on the outside, but if it's cooked with too much oil, it might be greasy.
So many great words. Let's practice a few of those.
Creamy, crunchy, tender, flaky, moist.
Let's look at some more sophisticated texture words. Have you ever eaten a really smooth, luxurious soup? We might describe it as silky or velvety. For example, a velvety butternut squash soup feels incredibly smooth as it glides over your tongue.
And for pasta lovers, there's a wonderful term we've actually borrowed from Italian, al dente. It means the pasta is cooked but still has a pleasant firmness when you bite it. If you're in a good restaurant and they ask how you like your pasta, you can confidently say, al dente, please.
On the less positive side, if your calamari, that's fried squid, is overcooked, it becomes rubbery. Rubbery is never a compliment. And we also use the beautiful phrase, melt in your mouth, to describe food so tender it practically dissolves. You might say, this slow-cooked lamb is absolutely melt in your mouth.
Two more excellent flavor words before we move on. Zesty describes a bright, tangy, citrusy kick, like a zesty lemon dressing on a salad. Rich describes something deep, indulgent, and full of flavor, like a rich chocolate brownie or a rich beef stew. Let's drill those new words. Repeat after me. Silky, velvety, al dente, rubbery, zesty, rich, melt in your mouth.
Okay, now that we have our describing words, let's go to a restaurant. This can be a little scary for language learners, but a few simple phrases make it easy.
Let's do a little role play. Jane, you be the customer, and I'll be the waiter.
Sounds fun.
Hello. Welcome to the English Garden. Can I get you started with some drinks?
Yes, please. Could I have a glass of water? And for my friend.
Oh, good one. It's always polite to order for others if you know what they want.
She'd like a lemonade, please.
Of course. Here are your menus. I'll be back with your drinks in a moment. All right. Are you ready to order, or do you need a few more minutes?
I think we're ready. Everything looks so good. What do you recommend?
That's a great question to ask. What do you recommend? It's perfect if you're not sure what to get. Our fish and chips are very popular today.
That sounds lovely, but I have a question. Is the soup vegetarian?
No, it's made with a chicken broth.
Okay, thank you for letting me know. In that case, I'd like the fish and chips, please. And could I have the peas on the side?
Another brilliant phrase. On the side means you want an ingredient served separately, not mixed in. Of course, one fish and chips with the peas on the side and for your friend.
She'll have the garden salad.
Excellent choice. I'll get that right in for you. Here you are. Enjoy your meals.
See, it's that simple. And after you're done, you just need to get the waiter's attention and say, "Excuse me, could we have the check, please?"
What do you recommend? I'd like the fish and chips, please. Could I have the sauce on the side? Could we have the check, please?
Excuse me, I have a nut allergy. Does this dish contain any nuts? Or, I'm allergic to gluten. Is there anything on the menu that's gluten-free?
Another very useful question is asking about the daily specials. A special is a dish the restaurant is offering that particular day, which isn't on the regular menu. You simply ask, "What are today's specials?" The waiter might reply, "Today's special is pan-seared salmon with roasted vegetables and a lemon butter sauce." Now that sounds wonderful.
Definitely. And when your food arrives and it's wonderful, don't be shy about saying so. Complimenting the food is a very natural and warm thing to do. You can say, "This is absolutely delicious," or even, "My compliments to the chef." That classic phrase always makes the kitchen staff feel wonderful.
And here's one more very practical phrase for the end of a meal. If you've ordered too much food, which happens to the best of us, you can ask, "Could I get a doggy bag for this, please?" A doggy bag is simply a container to take your leftovers home. Don't worry about the name. Most people are definitely not actually feeding it to their dog.
Well, maybe some are. Let's practice those new phrases. Repeat after me. I have a nut allergy. What are today's specials? This is absolutely delicious. My compliments to the chef. Could I get a doggy bag, please?
Okay, Jane, the food has arrived. You take a bite of a new dish and you don't like it, but your friend who cooked it is watching you, waiting for your opinion. What do you say?
A classic situation. You don't want to be rude and say, "This is horrible." The perfect, most diplomatic word for this moment is interesting.
Yes, if someone in Britain says your food is interesting, it often means they don't like it, but they are trying to be polite. It's a gentle way to express a negative opinion without hurting anyone's feelings.
Wow, this is very interesting. The flavor is so unique. This is polite. You're not lying, but you're not saying you enjoy it.
You could also be a little more specific, but still kind. For example, if it's too salty, you can say, "It's a little too salty for me." The phrase "for me" is so important because it makes it your personal opinion, not a fact.
Or you could say, "It's not quite to my taste," or "I'm not used to this texture." Again, it's about your experience, not the food itself.
These are fantastic phrases for being honest, but also kind. I once had to describe my aunt's very creative tuna and banana casserole. I said it was a very bold combination of flavors. She was delighted.
That is very diplomatic, John.
There are some other great diplomatic phrases worth knowing. One of my favorites is, "It's a little different from what I'm used to." This is perfect when you're trying food from a different culture and it's outside your comfort zone. It's honest, but never unkind.
Before we finish, we thought it would be fun to look at a few English idioms that are inspired by food. These are phrases that have a figurative meaning.
A piece of cake. If something is a piece of cake, it means it's very, very easy to do. For example, the English test was a piece of cake.
Next is to spill the beans. This means to tell a secret. You might say, "Come on, spill the beans. Who is she dating?"
And how about cool as a cucumber? This describes someone who is very calm and relaxed, especially in a stressful situation. For example, he was cool as a cucumber during his driving test.
These are so fun, and you'll hear them all the time in movies and daily conversation.
We have a few more food idioms for you. Here's a really popular one. Not my cup of tea. If something is not your cup of tea, it simply means it's not something you enjoy or prefer. For example, I tried watching the football game last night, but honestly, it's just not my cup of tea. I prefer tennis.
To bite off more than you can chew. This means to take on a task that is too big or difficult for you to handle. For example, she agreed to host a dinner party for 40 people the very first time she'd ever cooked a proper meal. She definitely bit off more than she could chew.
I love that one. And finally, to butter someone up. This means to flatter someone or be extra nice to them, usually because you want something from them. For example, he spent all morning complimenting his boss's new haircut and bringing her coffee. He was clearly buttering her up before asking for a day off. A piece of cake. To spill the beans. Cool as a cucumber. Not my cup of tea. To bite off more than you can chew. To butter someone up.
And that's all we have time for today. Wow, that flew by. We hope you feel more confident talking about food in English.
We covered a lot, describing flavors and textures, ordering a meal, being polite about food you don't love, and even some fun idioms. Remember, practice makes perfect.
Try using some of these words and phrases this week, even if it's just talking to yourself. Thank you so much for listening to the Everyday English podcast. But before we go, let's have a little quiz to see how much you've absorbed today. John is going to describe a food situation, and I, along with all of you listening at home, will try to identify the right word or phrase. Are you ready, John?
Born ready. Here we go. Question 1. You've just taken a bite of your friend's homemade cake. It's edible, but honestly not something you enjoy at all. Your friend is looking at you, waiting eagerly for your opinion. What is the one perfect, polite word you would use to describe it?
Ooh, that's got to be interesting. As in, wow, this is very interesting. That perfectly polite British pause says everything without saying anything.
Brilliant. Last question, and this one is about idioms. You've just agreed to plan an entire conference, redecorate your house, and write a novel, all in the same month. Which food idiom perfectly describes your situation?
Ha! That is absolutely biting off more than you can chew. Someone really needs to learn to say no. Well done to everyone playing along at home. You've clearly been paying attention today.
We'll be back next time with a new topic to help you on your English journey. We're thinking of talking all about travel. Until then, take care and happy learning.